Now, we understand, and I think his listeners understood, we understand what the message of this story is before we go on and read it. The prodigal son, the son who wasted everything, and then the father is God, and the son is like a person who has lived in a way that they recognize is not the way they should have lived, but then he's saying, but you can come to your senses and remember God, remember your father, and go to your father. But listen, if God is the father in this story, Jesus is revealing to us what the father is really like by casting God in this story as the father. And listen to what he said. This is remarkable to me. Remember, Jesus knows the Father as no one else does. He knows what he's really like. He said, I have revealed your true nature. Verse 20. He arose and he came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion. Did we not read that in the Psalms, by the way? That like as a father pities his children, so the Lord pity those that fear him. His father saw him and had compassion. And listen to this. He ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. Wow, what an image of God is that. See, Jesus is showing us what the heart of God really is like towards us. He cares, he's sympathetic to us. And it says, while the son was coming, the father saw him, had compassion, and he ran. The father ran to meet him. He fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in thy sight. I am no more worthy to be called thy son. Now you remember from what we read a while ago, there's more to the speech. He was also going to say, I'm not worthy to be called your son, make me as one of thy hired servants. He didn't get to that part because the father interrupted him. And the father said to the servants, it's almost as though he was not interested in hearing this kind of talk. And the father said to the servants, bring forth the best robe and put it on him. Now, by the way, he doesn't really, in terms of justice, he doesn't really deserve the best robe according to his actions. But you know what? He's still the son of his father. And the father loves him so much and pities him and has compassion on him so much, he says, bring the best robe, put it on him, and put a ring on his hand. The ring, by the way, signifies that he has the authority of a son. And shoes on his feet. And bring hither the fatted calf, and kill it. And let us eat and be merry. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to be merry. Now, this is remarkable to me because Jesus is saying this is what God is really like as a father. He has compassion on us. And when we make a move towards God, he doesn't wait for us to get there. He runs to meet us, metaphorically speaking. And he doesn't just say, oh, well, I'm going to put you on probation. You be in the doghouse for a while. You know what that expression means? I'll just keep you at arm's length. Just prove it to me. You prove to me that you can reassign. No, he says, I'm going to bring the best robe and put the ring on your finger. The ring means he has the full authority of the Father. He can go and give orders to the servants because he's got the ring, which signifies his authority. And not only that, he says, kill the fatted calf. Where did the fatted calf come from? Well, the fatted calf means that you pull it aside and fatten it up. Where did the fatted calf come from? The fatted calf came from, the father said it, see what I think is the first day that son went out with the inheritance to waste it. The father knew what was going to happen. And he said to the servants, put a calf aside and fatten it up. Because that son of mine, when he remembers who he is, he'll be back again. And we're going to have a party. The father foresaw that. So unlike God as Father is he in this story from what we imagine. What most people think about God is, you would have to tell the story this way. When the son went out with the inheritance to waste it, the father would have chased him down the road then, saying, I know what you're going to do, you rascal, you just don't ever show your face around here again. That's the way some people think about God. But no, not like that. He didn't chase after him, no threats at all. When the son made a move toward God, God ran to meet him. The father ran to meet him. And he fell on his neck and kissed him. Wow, that really sounds loving, does it not? This is kind of interesting. We might as well finish the story. Beautiful thing that's happened here. But now there's more to this story. The elder son. Remember, there were two sons, verse 25. His elder son was in the field, and he came in and drew near to the house, and he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And he said to him, Thy brother is come, and thy father hath killed the fatted calf, because he hath received him safe and sound. Now, he was not happy. In fact, not only was he not happy, it says he was angry. The older son was angry, and he would not go in. Therefore came the father out and entreated him. Verse 29 says, And he answered and said unto his father, Lo, these many years do I serve thee, Neither transgressed I at any time thy command. And yet thou never gavest me a kid that I might make merry with my friends. But as soon as this thy son," he doesn't even say my brother, he's your son. "As soon as this thy son was come," you get the anger and the bitterness and the hostility in this. "This thy son was come, which hath devoured thy living with harlots. Thou hast killed for him the fatted calf." You see, what is Jesus saying in this story? Who are we talking about in this story? You know, if you want to understand who we're talking about here, I don't have to just use my imagination. If you go back to the beginning of the chapter, Elliot, would you do that just for a minute? Chapter 15, verse 1. The first verse of the chapter. This is how it started off. "Then drew near to him," that means Jesus, "all the publicans and sinners for to hear him." The publicans were the tax collectors, the lowest element in society. "And the sinners," all the bad people, the down and outers, the sinners. "They came near to Jesus to hear it. And the Pharisees and the scribes murmured." The Pharisees and the scribes were the religious people, the ones who prided themselves on their holy lives. The Pharisees and the scribes murmured. You know what murmured means? Gripe and complain, rather like that older son, saying, complaining about Jesus, "This man receives sinners." I can hear the sarcasm and the anger in the word. "This man receives sinners and eats with them." I don't know what made him matter, that he received them or that he ate with them. That really got him. See, to them, if you eat with a sinner, that makes you unclean. Jesus didn't have that attitude. Jesus didn't think, if I eat with the sinners, what's on them will get on me. Jesus thought, if I eat with the sinners, what's in me will get on them. And evidently, that's what happened. They like to be around Jesus. You know, you read this constantly, that the down and outers and the sinners, they like to, you know, it's like the same reason I think the sick people like to go to the doctor. They want to get a remedy for what's wrong. They want to get cured. And Jesus had the remedy for what was wrong. So then back to the story. That's the context of this little parable, the story. Verse 30 then says, "As soon as this thy son was come." This older son is like the Pharisees, who are murmuring, complaining about the fact that these sinners, these people who don't have the kind of righteous, holy life that they do, are coming and being received. And Jesus is saying by this story, that is exactly how it is, that God receives them with open arms, and us too. "You killed the fatted calf for him." And here's his answer. And he said, "Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is yours." And then the next verse, hold on, from an 8. "It was meet," that means it was appropriate, "that we should make merry and be glad. For this thy brother was dead, and he's alive again. He was lost and is found." So what's the message of this story? You know, we could talk about who the two sons are. The prodigal son is like the sinners, and the older son who doesn't want to come in, he's like the Pharisees. And we could talk about that. But I think what's most interesting is to talk about who the Father is, and the fact that Jesus reveals to us that the Father, like the psalmist said, is full of compassion, full of mercy. And he doesn't wait for us to, you know, he didn't wait for the son to make it all the way back to the house. He ran to meet him. He runs to meet us. That's what he means. He comes in our direction.